Hello and welcome to another implementation video on ObservePoint's analytics validation use case. This video will focus on standards in the ObservePoint platform and how they can help you to achieve implementation for this particular use. Going into the ObservePoint platform, on the left column you can see we have a series of what we call standards. These allow us to predefine expected results and to set up notifications around those results from our ObservePoint scans. For the purposes of analytics validation, the top two standards that you see here, alerts and tag and variable rules, are going to be more relevant. So we're going to focus on those for this video. First and foremost, let's bring our attention to rules. Let's spend a little bit of brief time addressing how they apply to our two different types of scans, those being journeys and audits. Rules are unique in that you can use them in both journeys and audits, whereas alerts and consent categories, the other type of standard, can only be used in audits as of today. So, how do these work, these rules? Well, just to show you a bit of the interface at the very beginning of the setup, here's our list of rules. We can go to create a new one. We give it a name. We can call this analytics checker. Go to conditions, and what we're really doing here is we're defining the tags we expect to see from an audit or a journey. Now, depending on which scan we apply it to, audit or journey, the rule will be doing slightly different things as far as how it's applied. But at the end of the day, all we're doing is saying, okay, in this particular scan, whatever that means for the type of scan we're running, here are the tags that we expect to see in the then statement. So if I want to say I want to see Adobe Analytics, then I can type in Adobe Analytics and I can save this rule. If I apply this to an audit, it will check every page to see that Adobe Analytics has fired at least once. If I apply this to an action in a journey, it'll check to see that Adobe has fired at least once on that action. Alternatively, in journeys, we also have the option to apply the rule to the entire journey, where it will check all actions for the presence of the tag at least once. So a couple different ways that can be applied as far as journeys go. We can add data level expectations to say, it's not good enough that Adobe fires. I need to also see that EVAR 7 or V7 is on the site, is on every page if this is an audit. If we want to specify the value of what we expect EVAR7 to be, we can choose the equals operator and say if it equals the following string, some value. We can do a lot more than just this. We can use different operators, contains, case sensitive or not, regex, which comes in quite handy if there are a few different values, or if you want to verify that there's a data format that is being passed by this particular key value pair. Now, when we're saying variables and values, we're referring to the data in the payload of the tag, the network request that is being sent. So we have some other options for the configuration of a rule. We can say only check for these tags if the following criteria are met. So if we apply this to an audit, it's saying if on a given page the following is true, then check for Adobe. One common suggestion is to check on pages that have loaded successfully, where the tag had a fair shot at firing. So you may say if the final page status code equals 200, you will avoid perhaps some false positives from, say, 404 pages. If you want to give it a little bit more flexibility, we can write a little bit of regex that effectively says if it is a 200 something status code page or a 300 something status code page, then check for Adobe. We can also add other tags. So as far as best practices go for an audit, consider what an audit is doing. An audit is loading pages. So what tags and what analytics do you expect to capture from page load? That should inform how you set up a rule for an audit. For a journey where we are doing more than just loading pages, we are usually going through something that will end in perhaps a conversion event, something more critical to the end goal of your website's business objectives, and making sure that we're capturing that data by verifying that with ObservePoint, we'll want to consider something a little bit more specific. Um, if there is some data that indicates add to cart that is valuable for you to capture, perhaps attribution data, we'll want to say what that is here in the then statement. What should Adobe be capturing in the event that someone completes a checkout if you are working on an e-commerce site, for example? So that's the general setup. You should go look in here at all the options. We can even compare data to other data. We can compare, for example, the data layer EVAR 7, or sorry, the Adobe Analytics EVAR 7 to something in your data layer if you anticipate that they should match. So explore this interface and see what the options are, and you'll find some perhaps surprising applications beyond just the scope of checking a single tag and the data captured by that tag. To give you a short, brief sort of look at the end result, what are we trying to really achieve in our reporting here? First and foremost, we want to get notified. We want to be able to tap you on the shoulder to say, hey, we caught some data failure. You told us the tag needed to fire in this event, in this instance on your site. It did not. We're letting you know. Or that it didn't capture the data in the payload of the tag that you said was required. So in a journey, which we are in, step one had a failed rule. So ideally, we have subscribed to the rule. If it were to fail, it was this rule, and it was just checking for page view. It's saying if GA4 needs to be there and Facebook conversion needs to be present, neither of them were present, so the rule failed. And if we subscribe to it, you can tell if you subscribe to it if your email is in this general settings place. So for journeys, at least, make sure that you subscribe to these so that you get notified if your analytics have any issues. Okay. So going to a journey such as this, we went through how to create the rule, but when it comes to standards and ObservePoint, they live independent of the scans. So you can see here that I applied this one rule to an audit. If a rule or any standard is not applied to a scan, then it's not doing anything. We need to then apply it. So the way that you can do that, there's a few ways in the interface. I'll cover the following. We can go to edit this journey. We can go to the actions tab. And then on step one, I can see that action rules, it says that we have that same rule applied. And I can, if I want, add even more to this one action. If I want to add a rule to the entire journey to check all three steps, I can go to standards. And then I can go to create new tag and variable rule if we're creating one from scratch. Another way to create rules from scratch, at least in a journey, and the same applies for audits. The interface is a little different, but the same idea is also true there. We can go to the variable summary report. So in this journey, I am clicking on, I'm going to the home page on step one. Step two, we're clicking get a demo on the ObservePoint website. If I want to verify that we have a particular GA4 tag firing with relevant data to indicate someone clicked get a demo, then I can go to the variable summary report first. And then if I find the tag that has the data that I want to verify in the future, let's do that. Let's pick any of these GA4 tags for demonstration purposes, and we can say document title. It's really important, perhaps, that we capture document title and that it equals request a demo pipeline ObservePoint. So to do this a little quicker, if I'm creating a new rule just for this event in this journey, I can click this plus icon right here. And if I do so, it brings up this interface, which allows me to easily select request a demo, or even to filter by data that has request a demo as a string in either the key name or the value. So we will check that box. We will call this GA4 request demo, and then click customize. Yeah, then we'll move on to conditions, and you will see that some data, some settings have been auto-populated in the then statement of the rule. The value of the Google Analytics tag is specified. We're saying it needs to be sending the data to this report suite, as well as the variable and the value name. So that might make work a little easier for you as you are building out rules in your ObservePoint account. So the same goes for audits. Like I had mentioned, we can create rules for audits. You would apply your rules by going to standards here and then to tag and variable rules, where we have this one rule already applied called observepoint.com page view. You can see the results in the tag and variable rules report right here, where it's saying we had all pages passed where we found the if statement as true. That's what not applies mean. If a rule doesn't apply, it means that the if statement, if we included one, was found not to be true. So what did we write in the if statement here? We wrote, well, as long as it's a 200 something or 300 something status code page, then check for the presence of these tags, check for the presence of the data layer. And it's saying that we had 33 pages that apparently were not 200 or 300 something status codes, so it wasn't applied. But where it was applied, everything passed. So that's an example of how rules look for reporting in audits. Now, we mentioned alerts at the beginning of this video. We can use alerts as well to fulfill the use case that is analytics validation. It's just going to work a little differently. So if we go to the alerts report, you can see some alerts that I predefined in this audit. Bar the first one, the rest of these are relevant and recommended as best practices for analytics validation. This one, called broken analytics tags, is looking for, you guessed it, broken analytics tags. And when we say broken, we're referring to tags who had a network request status code of anything but 200 something or 300 something. So a 404 would qualify as broken. So that could be an issue because that could also cause data collection errors if you have broken tags. We want to know. We set up a threshold around a metric. That's how alerts work. So if I go to edit this particular alert, the report metric is percent of broken tags. And we're saying if the percent of broken tags operator is greater than this value, 0, then what? Well, let me know. Email chris.hawks@observepoint.com. I'll also point out that we are adding a filter for only web analytics tags. Perhaps it's not in the scope of your purview to know if just any tag is broken. Maybe you only want to get notified of web analytics tags that break. That's how you would do this. So to recreate this particular alert, we can go to the tag health report. That's where this metric lives, by the way, percent of broken tag requests. And I can click the bell icon. This is one way to create alerts. If there's a bell icon next to a metric after hovering over the metric, that means we can create an alert over it. Now, I had a filter applied, which made this more relevant to analytics testing. And the filter was over here on the top left, we'll click filters, we'll click tag, we'll go to category, and then at the bottom, it's the category of web analytics. And this will change to 0 because in this run of this audit, we didn't have any broken tags that were web analytics tags. And then if we create this alert, go to create new alert, click customize alert logic and setup after this preview interface, we'll see the exact same setting that we previewed in the alerts report. Okay, so the next part is making sure that we are subscribed, just like with rules, to this particular alert, where if it were to trigger, we would get notified. We can enter a message, a little note to ourselves of what the intent of this alert was, and so on and so forth. We can go to data sources to quickly apply this to other scans or make it a default alert that is applied to all future audits that we create. And then the alert preview tells you if this would have triggered during past runs. Okay. So going back to the alerts report, this will tell us at a glance if any of these triggered on this run. Ideally, if you're subscribed to the alerts, you'll find out first by getting emailed, and then you'll likely come to the audit to find out more. So the other recommended alerts, now that we know generally how to set them up, I will just go through what these are. Console errors for analytics tags. The browser console logs report. You can also filter by tag category web analytics, and there is a metric, count of console messages that are errors. So it's filtering the count of console messages that are errors that are related to web analytics tags. So if you have any console errors output because of some analytics issue, we can get a notification for that. Or specific tags. We can say if the tag name is Adobe or Google Universal Analytics or Analytics 4, we can hone it in even more if we'd like, if web analytics is too vague for our purposes. So going back to the alerts report, the other two duplicate analytics tags is recommended. In the duplicates and multiples report, we count total duplicates. And as a reminder, a duplicate in ObservePoint is a tag whose payload matches another tag on the same page, and they're going to the same report suite, same account ID, which is likely indicating data inflation or double counting, which of course you don't want because that would make your numbers erroneous as far as page views go, since we're running this in audits. But just in general, if you ever have duplicates, you want to get a hold of that, intermediate those. So again, we're showing all duplicates right now, but we simply need to add the filter for category is web analytics. And now we can create an alert for web analytics tags duplicates. So that's the general idea. This last alert that I'll highlight is the failed rules alert. It's pretty straightforward. We're just saying if we have any failed rules, let me know. As you probably have noticed, you can subscribe to a rule itself to get a notification, but we recommend using alerts, at least for audits, for any sort of notification. It's just sort of a better system. It's more updated in the ObservePoint UI. So with that being said, this is what we recommend for the web analytics use case as far as the standards that you can use to set up automated notifications and predefined requirements. Thank you for watching the video, and we will move on to the next one in the following topic.